Right now it's Roch Kubatko from MASNsports.com School of Rock. And Roch, today the lineups, I know you're the master of the lineups, you were kind of frustrated because they were a little bit delayed because of some injury problems. Let's talk about Seth Smith. He's not in there, got hit in the eye, but did hit a home run after that.
You know, I get nervous when the lineup isn't posted right away. I was sweating. It wasn't from the heat, from no lineup. But yeah, they were waiting on Smith because he did take that foul ball off the face, actually hit home plate, and then hit him below the left eye. And he did end up homering after that, but then the vision started bothering more. You could see him in right field where he was kind of testing the eyes. He'd cover one, then cover the other. And if they had still gotten an at-bat with 2 outs in the ninth inning, if J.J. Hardy had reached, Kim would have pinch hit for him because the vision was getting a little blurry. And as Buck says, you have to be able to see the ball to hit it. And it was a dangerous situation. So today they had Smith in the outfield, shagging some fly balls from Wayne Kirby while the tarp was on the infield. So they just decided that they weren't going to take any chances. We haven't talked to Buck since then, but clearly his vision hasn't completely cleared up. So they just want to make sure that he's okay and not put in harm's way. And Buck said he thinks that Smith had something previously in the past involving his eyes. So they're going to be careful with it. Maybe he's back in the lineup tomorrow, but they did test it. And they just weren't going to take any chances with him.
Yeah, so Mark Trumbull will play right. Youngsu Kim will play left tonight in the absence of Seth Smith. Now, how about Manny Machado? He missed yesterday's game, finger problem, and had to wait a little bit before we found out that he was going to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, well, he was one of the other ones. Buck had said that he was kind of waiting on 3 guys to see whether they could play, and that's why they were holding up the lineup. Manny was one of them, but Manny said all along he was fine. He had a sore finger yesterday. Buck said Manny had fouled a couple pitches off the end of the bat that kind of caused the finger to ring a little bit there, and he was more worried about him gripping the ball than he was swinging a bat. Now, C.B. Buckner was behind the plate, so I'm sure that might probably had a little bit to do with it after the run-in to end the previous night when Buckner ruled incorrectly that Manny didn't check his swing, and Manny slammed his helmet to the ground, was very upset. But Buck did insist that it was mostly about the finger. We talked to Manny, and he said a couple times, I was benched. He said, I could have played. And it was weird for him because we're not used to seeing Manny in the dugout when he's healthy. It's been, injuries, DL, suspensions, but when he's basically where he feels like he's healthy and he's not playing, he said it was very weird. He's never done that before. But I'm sure Buck was being careful with him, too.
How about Chris Tillman now? He starts for the 3rd time this season. What have you seen out of his first 2 starts that's either impressed you or not impressed you?
I mean, he did okay with the 5 scoreless that first outing, but clearly he was just getting by on some grit because he doesn't have his fastball command yet. And maybe that's to be expected. It's only his 3rd start after being out all this time with the right shoulder bursitis. But, that's what Buck is saying, that it's the fastball command that he needs, but every pitcher needs. It's kind of the Captain Obvious observation there. And he hasn't really had it, so he's been laboring somewhat, even with the 5 scoreless innings and only 4 1/3 his next outing, running up his pitch count really high. So he's got to get that command back, and they're hoping it starts now because the rotation really needs a lift. I mean, everybody's focusing on the bullpen, and it struggles, and rightfully so, but when you have starters going 3 1/3, 4 1/3, 5 innings, it's going to tax the bullpen, even a 7-man pen. Fortunately, that pen is pretty much in full strength now. Miguel Castro pitched back-to-back games, but he saved them by going the last 2 innings yesterday. So everybody else is available, but they really are looking for Chris to start getting on that roll, and hopefully the rest of the rotation kind of follows suit.
Continuing with the lineup theme, how about Jonathan Scope batting leadoff for only the 2nd time in his big league career?
Right. Maybe not your prototypical leadoff hitter. I saw somebody write on Twitter, the guy who's like the aggressive, wild swinger. Well, who is the prototypical leadoff guy, really? Seth Smith supposedly isn't really prototypical, even though he has a good on-base percentage, but he's done the job there, and otherwise it's Joey Rickard. But I guarantee you Buck would say, well, if not him, who else then? And maybe Kim could have been because he has a good on-base percentage. Normally he did last year, but he's barely played. Scope looks like he's heating up some again. Buck likes his at-bats. He complimented him today, saying that there was a situation where it was 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and he drew a walk. And that was one of maybe the best at-bat of the road trip, that he didn't let the pitcher take him out of the strike zone. So I think Buck's kind of liking what he's seeing, and he's like, why not? It's got to be somebody, may as well be Jonathan Scope for the 2nd time.
When you look at where Toronto is in the division and the Orioles are in the division, and the Orioles are 5-1 against Toronto, you take the 5-1 away from the Orioles and the 1-5 against Toronto away out of their standings. I mean, Toronto's not that far out if they hadn't played the Orioles and lost those extra 4 games.
Exactly. Those games have really impacted Toronto's placement in the standings. And I talked to people that were acting like in April that Toronto was out of it. And I'm like, I think it's still too early. But then you always hear these, well, traditionally any team that starts off whatever record, X number of games under 500, does not make the postseason. I say it's still too soon because these teams are going to keep playing each other within the division. And Buck knew it. He goes, I know Toronto's better than what they showed. And obviously the Orioles had a big impact on them with their slow start. But even with some guys missing from their lineup, they're starting to pick it up now. They're still a very dangerous team.
Yeah, when you look at Toronto, I mean, obviously they've got some serious injuries with Josh Donaldson out and also Russell Martin. That's going to wrap things up from here. We're going to go back upstairs to Jim Hunter and Mike Bordigan.